Good evening and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, where we're going to be speaking about moving to the UK. Now, moving to a foreign land to start a new life isn't a decision that's taken lightly, and there are loads of different challenges that come with it. So how do immigrants find England when they first arrive, or even after they've been here for a while? And why are some Brits quite hostile towards them? Is it really that easy for immigrants to be able to legally obtain residency and benefits, as some people think? And I'm also going to be bringing up the controversial question of whether immigrants work harder than the Brits. My guests tonight are Paola Rocha, who had a really hard time when she moved here. And also we have Catherine Diaz, who was not being able to speak English when she came, but also found a lot of people were not tolerant with her. As well as immigration consultant Mr. Joseph Adebola to provide some professional insight on this subject. And we'll also be joined by self-development expert Chris Brown with his weekly help and advice. And we'll also be featuring a nice place to visit. So if you'd like to take part in this show, you can email me, chris@chrissybshow.tv, and you can also visit the website chrissybshow.tv and submit a form from there. So we're going to meet our guests first of all. We have Paola and Catherine. Hi ladies,
hi.
Thanks so much for joining us. So what country are you from, first of all, Catherine?
I'm from Peru.
Peru.
Yeah.
And Paola?
I am from Portugal.
Portugal. So you've been here 12 years,
Yes,
right?
12 years.
And you've been here
3 years.
So you're like the baby
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Okay then. So I'd like to ask you both, what first of all made you decide to come to the UK? Briefly, just start with Catherine.
For me, it was my studies and to develop my career. Because for me, it's a challenge learning languages. I wanted to improve my language, English. And also because I know you will tell me United States is near your country. Why you didn't go there?
Yeah.
Well, universities or higher education are also here in Europe, and because I met a nice guy in my country,
Nice English guy.
Yes, he talked to me about his country.
So what did you say about England that enticed you to come here?
About the behavior, about the culture, the mixture of the culture. That's why I was interested to come here.
So you thought it'd be quite exciting to come here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and how about you, Paola?
Well, I came here to study account and to build a career in account. This was the main reason why I came to UK.
Why not do that in Portugal?
Because in Portugal I had several difficulties in going to university, and then everything, to go to university to do a course in accounts you have to pay. And so I didn't have the financial condition to do it. Because my sister was already here, she asked me why you don't come then to UK and try, you never know what's gonna happen. So at the beginning I was saying, well, I'm gonna start a new life, going there gonna be hard, start a new life there. I don't think so, but anyway, I ended up deciding coming to UK to study accounts.
Okay, so you had family members here, but you had no one here, right?
No one.
Okay, that's quite brave of you then to come.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I left actually home when I was 16, but just moving another city from.
Yeah, but you know your
country.
family's always like around somewhere. If, you know,
but
if you
here
need
is
them.
difficult. Yeah, here is difficult. I made some friends. Yeah, good
You made
friends.
friends, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so but tell us what was the first impression when you came here to the UK? What was it like for you?
The green areas.
The green.
Yeah. I really love that.
What about the rain?
Oh yeah, and the weather is very all the time. You have to get an umbrella or to take an umbrella with you all the time. Yeah, and you never know when it will rain.
But did you like it when you first came here?
Not at all, because the weather.
Because of the weather.
Just the weather. Yeah, because it was very cold. And the snow, and I fall down in the snow.
Peru
I remember.
As well, right?
Oh yeah, it's summer in the capital in Lima most of the time, but here is hard. But I'm used to now. Yeah, so it's fine for me. Yeah.
Okay, and how about you, Paola? When you first came, what were your first impressions?
Well, the first impression that I had, actually when I came in a very good time, because it was the hottest time that UK had in 10 years. So I came in very good.
20 degrees? No, I'm joking.
It was very hot, and I remember that we had a long summer. So
yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
yeah, no, it doesn't happen. Since I've been here
this
12 years, never happened afterwards. So what I really like when I came, not just because of the weather that was nice at that time, but it was the opportunity that the country had there. So it was there for whatever person wanted to grasp them and make the most of them, most of it. So this is what really caught my attention. It was something that it doesn't exist in my country, but here they had this possibility. Yeah,
Okay.
this is what really caught my attention.
Now, obviously, it wasn't easy for both of you when you came here. Tell us about some of the main difficulties that you faced here.
Being ill and having to go to the hospital alone with no one.
Describe how that
especially
felt, too.
when you don't speak the language very fluently, and in the hospital some people don't understand you. I remember once I went to the hospital, and unfortunately the doctor told me that he hasn't got any pill for me for that moment, and I had to wait for the pharmacy
Were you in
to
pain
open.
at the time?
Yes, I was in pain. I got just a stomachache, but it was very painful. That's why I decided to go to the hospital, to emergency. But otherwise, I don't know what I would do.
But how did you cope then when you were told that you can't have any medication, you have to wait? Well, how did you react to that?
I called a friend, and she came, and I told her, like, I cannot speak English. Could you please come here? And she took everything with her, and she went out from her home just for me. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. And she came to meet me at the hospital, and she spoke to the doctor, and she made a complaint, actually.
Okay.
She was shouting very loud just for me, because the doctor wasn't able to give me a pill.
Was it because he didn't understand what you were trying to say to him, or he just didn't regard you like he's
He
just
just
an
didn't
immigrant? Well, I'm
care.
not going to
He just didn't care. I think he was boring actually, because I looked at his face and he was, I'm so sorry, but I don't have time.
Oh, that's
I'm so
awful.
sorry. I don't want to say the name of the hospital, because no, it's not.
So this is something that we, people that are born over here, we take for granted. If there's something wrong, we make an appointment, go to our doctor, or we go straight to A&E, and there's always help for us. But if you don't speak the language well, and you're here, especially if you're here on your own with no family, and at least you had friends here, but imagine if you were here without friends, it's really scary to if something happens to you, what do you do? How do you communicate? So that's something that's really food for thought for people that do live here, and how to appreciate how hard it is as well for people that come over. How about you, Paula? How about some of the difficulties you faced?
The difficulty that I had when I first came to UK was to find a school for my son, because I didn't come alone. I came with my 5-year-old boy, and the money that I had anyway was much, because I just have some little money to be saved, and then we had to organize in such a way that we would have money to feed ourselves every day. And find a school here was very hard to find a school for him. I spent about 2 months looking for a school.
Why was it so hard to find a school?
Because when we came, it said, because he doesn't speak the language, you have to apply here, apply that. We at that time didn't have a learning trust. So you have to go school to school to find a place for him. And because I didn't know the school itself, I'm new to the country. I don't know every school in the corner here in London, especially in the place where I would live. So I had to go find for solutions, basically, information, and go to...
Did you find organisations to help you, or did you feel like you were on your own?
In the beginning, I was in my own, because I didn't know nothing of here. Even though I was with my sister, but my sister said to me, well, you are here, fair enough, but now it's up to you. You have to organize yourselves, because she didn't have time anyway. She was working. So I had to organize myself. So I was going to the Social Security, libraries, any place where I could find a piece of information, I would take. I even had a box that was full of information, leaflets, anything that would help me to sort out my case.
Were either of you entitled to any benefits when you came here?
When I came here, I wasn't entitled. I spent about 3 months without benefits, 4 months more or less. I came to receive after 4 months that I was here. So basically I was living on the money that I brought, which was not a lot, and plus then my sister found me a job to work in a restaurant, like a cleaner. So I was to clean.
Studying? You were?
No, at that time I was not studying.
You weren't studying at that time?
I was not studying at that time. I studied after 6 months. I was here in UK, when I started to study. Even I started to study in the training center. And until there, I really had to even though I didn't speak English, even though I was new to the country, but I didn't have that comfort to say, oh, okay, let me wait for my sister, let me wait for a friend, let me call them and say, okay, I don't speak English, can you find out someone to translate for me? I didn't have this chance. Because when you have a son, you really have to look for a solution, because you have someone that is depending on you.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So you cannot afford to just lay down and wait for the best because someone gonna help you out. Do you understand? So you really have to move, and you have to move fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Catherine? Were there any other difficulties that you faced when you came here?
Apart from the language, maybe the strong clash of the cultures.
The clash of the cultures, why? What happened
there? You met many people from different religion, cultures, and you have to learn about them. You have to be adaptable.
But isn't that a good thing?
Yeah,
like
it's a good thing.
Like, it's exciting, things are different.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't realize when people treat you differently. For example, I used to kiss in Spanish style in the cheek, but some other people can't be bothered to kiss you because they think, no, that's not the way to greeting someone. You have to learn that.
Yeah, do you find like
maybe
a bit cold
sometimes
here?
was quite tough
I
for
think
me.
they are cold.
A bit cold?
Yeah.
I think they are
They're
cold.
more reserved, I think, because they're not used to sort of, I don't know, maybe it's the weather, like, all the time. They're not used to, you never know, like, maybe what to do.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find quite strange for me here when I came was, normally in Portugal, you say Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, especially if the person is older, you need to have Mr. or Mrs. because if you don't have, it's a lack of respect. But here, they treat the person by their own name, and sometimes that would really make me a lot of confusion about that. Sometimes I would say, oh my God, I didn't say Mr. Now the person gonna be angry at me and everything. But it's clash of cultures basically.
Yeah. But you get used to it after.
Yeah, but
Right.
you get used to it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what our viewers think as well. Let's go to an email with Moti.
Yes, Chris, we have a lot of people who have something to say about this topic, and one of them is Maria from London. She says, since I've been here, I've worked every day and paid taxes. I have done every kind of job you can imagine, cleaning, pub work, everything, you name it. Yet, the English people here, or most of them, judge me for my accent and for not being born here. In my opinion, a lot of English people are fussy with the work they'll do, and also make a lot of excuses for not going into work or getting a job. Of course, there are lots of English people who are hardworking and dedicated, and so you can't generalize. I wish
think
people...
She just did.
What's that?
I think she just did generalise.
Yeah. I wish people could actually look at the facts rather than listen to everyone else. That's Maria from London.
Okay, so that's an issue that some like immigrants have. Like they come over here and they work really hard and they really try hard, but then the ones that don't, the ones that do come over just to sponge off the government and to get like the benefits, they give everyone else a bad name, don't they?
Yes, they put us in the same bag, unfortunately.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we're going to be discussing this more after the break. We're going to go to a quick break, and afterwards as well, we're going to be joined by Mr. Joseph Adebola, who's going to be giving us some professional advice about immigration. So join us after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. Now, just before I speak to my next guest, I don't know if you remember Heather from Monday's show when she was speaking about working in a factory. Well, she said some very interesting things about the immigrants that she was working with. So let's take a look at this. And you can also let us know whether you think immigrants work harder than the British.
This particular factory, it was, I'd say 95% of people were from India, and the other 5 were from Sri Lanka. What I found was these people were very, very hardworking. They gave 100% all the time. I've never seen people work so hard. It's like where they come from, they were very poor and they wanted, you know, all they thought about was work, 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 because they were so used to not having money and they saw every minute as precious, and they just put their all into it all the time. And I wasn't used to being like around people so, you know, hardworking, and this was a big thing to me as well. I mean, I wasn't lazy, but I mean, I wasn't as crazy for work as these people, and yeah, it was hard because they say, oh, English people don't usually work here, you know, they're not hard workers. Like, well, you are amazing workers. You are very hardworking, and I've never seen anything like it. No, they seemed very, very scared that, like, if someone said you have to do it was like overtime was compulsory. There wasn't like, you say it's voluntary, but no, if you said, no, I can't come in, they would continue, keep asking you sure you can't come in? And they seemed genuinely scared to turn it down, to be honest. Sometimes after a 5-day week, they would say, oh, come in at 6, because we used to finish at 10 o'clock at night. They would say, oh, you've got to come in 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Some of the people, I was lucky, I live next door. Some of these people get 4 hours sleep, and they say, and do a 12-hour shift. And these were older women, like in their 60s. And I was thinking, this is cruel. And they seemed generally frightened to say no. There was a lot of pressure on people.
Gosh, I don't know how they do it. But let's speak to our next guest, Mr. Joseph Adebola, who's an immigration consultant, for his take on things. So good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay. So you just watched the video there about whether... Do you think immigrants work harder than
Yes.
the Brits? Yeah?
Yes.
Without a doubt?
Without a doubt.
Why'd you say that?
Yeah, because I was an immigrant myself years ago. And the kind of life she was talking about, right, I lived it as well.
Really? Okay.
And because, you know, it's when people come to this country, right, you don't come to this country to enjoy the weather. Everybody knows that, you know. You don't come here because of the weather, right? Immigrants that come to this country, they come here for a purpose. Okay, I think there's too many myths going on around. You know, people saying, you know, they are layabouts, they are this, they are that. Yes, you get a very few of them who are like that, but majority of immigrants in this country work hard. You had that woman said there that they are scared to turn down overtime. Some people work for. Look, it's when I came to this country some 2 years ago, right? The first job I did in this country was 15.5 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a night shift. And I was going to school as well.
But how were you
I had to
that?
do it. I had to do it.
Well, why did you come to the UK in the first place?
Yeah, good question. I came here as an asylum seeker. Well, I was into politics back home, you know, and everybody knew about, because I'm from Nigeria, and everybody knew about the election that happened in 1993 and everything that happened after that. So when they were clamping people into detention, I went on the ground. Luckily for me, I had a visa with me, because before that time, I was always coming here on holiday every year, you know. So by the time we went for the election, I had a visa in my passport. So when I went on the ground, I just got people to get my passport for me, and I flew the country. Came in here, and
did you know people here already? Or?
yes, I had a lot of friends here
already.
But then it was still like a culture shock when I came, because, you know, it was then I realized that coming here for good is quite different from coming here on a holiday. You get the point?
Yeah.
For one, I didn't like the cold weather because I'm allergic to cold. I still am. You get the point? So it's a miracle I've stayed this long anyway. So, and one other thing again is when I made the asylum claim, right? Immediately there, I told them, look, I want to work. Give me work permit. And to my shock horror, right, they said to me, now, go back and come back after 6 months. And that really shook me, and I was like, I'm ready to work. Why are you asking me to go and come back after 6 months? What for?
It's not that you went to ask for benefits or something free, is it? You just wanted to work.
So sometimes the system creates some of these things you see. You get the point? Because, I mean, for someone like me who wanted, because I had a career back home before I came here, and I just couldn't see myself sitting around doing nothing. You get the point? So they said to me, come back after 6 months. And that was then. Now, if you come in now to claim asylum, right, you don't get a work permit until after a year. So tell me, what do you expect someone like that to do?
Exactly.
So these are some of the things that people outside there don't know. But, you know, because there's this, some part of the press in this country, you know, they've hyped up this little percentage of immigrants in this country, and they're like blowing it out of all proportion, and people are buying into it. And it's so unfortunate.
And also treating immigrants quite disrespectfully sometimes.
You see, And the danger there is that, you know, British is known for its accommodation, you know, but they are fast losing that token now with this issue of immigration. Because you see, immigrants have become like the fall guy to everybody in the society now, especially the politicians. I'm sorry to say it. You know, every time there's election coming, immigration is always but then everybody failed to realize that majority of these guys come here to work and they contribute to this economy. That's a fact. Okay?
And sometimes they're prepared to do some jobs that British people don't want to do.
And I tell you again, most of these guys you're talking about, they are graduates doing menial jobs.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
my
very
case.
true.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
Graduates doing menial jobs. I came into this country with a master's degree, okay? But I was ready to do anything just to earn the dough, okay? And when you see people like that, and it's amazing that the kind of people that tend to look down on you then, you know, I just look at them sometimes and I'm like, I wish you knew where I was coming from. Look at the point. So these are some of the things that, you know, the society needs to wise up now and begin to see immigrants in a different light.
Is that why you do what you do today? So today you're an immigration consultant. Is it because you like identify with the difficulties and maybe the prejudices that people face when they come here?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I was a marketer back home, successful marketer before I went into politics. And everything went downhill and I had to come here. But then it's when I started having problems with my immigration status here, because it took me a while before I was able to get, you know, my status sorted. So that was what propelled me into going into law. Because I just thought, because I went through so many phases and so many disappointments with some guys that were supposed to help me. So that really pushed me into it. I was like, look, I can't continue to go on like this. I need to do something. So I made a detour, so to speak, from my original profession into something else. And here I am today.
Okay. So what advice would you give to people that are planning to come to this country, or maybe that are here already and they're finding difficulties with things? What would you say to them?
Now, for someone, you know, wanting to come into the UK, you know, the first advice I'll give to them is that try and research. Speak to as many people as you can living here already, you know, seek for the experience, okay? And before you even think of going for your visa, try and seek for some legal advice.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that you'll be able to get the proper advice and to know what kind of visa to apply for before you come here. Because so many people came here with the wrong type of visa, because it is what you have in mind.
They have to go back and then reapply and stuff, right?
Okay. Then again, for people who are here, again, you know, so many people make the mistake of wanting to do certain things by themselves without seeking for proper legal advice. Again, if you want to seek for legal advice, right, there are so many regulatory bodies. You know, if anybody is offering to give you any advice on legal, check out his background. Is he accredited by any regulatory body? You know. If it's not,
do people get taken advantage of quite a lot then?
Yeah. If it's not, then run a mile. Okay, because I know for a fact OIC and SRA, these are the two main bodies, you know, regulating legal practice in this country, and I know for a fact that it is mandatory for anybody, you know, regulated by any of these bodies, right, to display their logo on any of their marketing, either business cards, website, or whatever. So if someone says to you he's an immigration consultant or solicitor or barrister or whatever, check them out. Do some background checks on them before you part with your money.
Especially for us, for students, it's difficult to get legal advice. It's not easy. And some people may maybe be a liar and telling you stories and make you pay a lot of money.
Which you don't have a lot of when you come here.
Because for us it's difficult to get visas as well, or to renew in visas all the time. It's like it's stressful for us. Yeah. Okay.
Because you see, anybody being regulated by any of these bodies, right, they have a code of conduct that they have to abide by. Okay? And nobody wants to lose his or her license, because every year they license us. Okay? And if you by chance, you know, get yourself into trouble with maybe a client or something, you know, then you stand the risk of losing your license. And it's like being a medical doctor. If you lose your license, and that's it.
What's the worst case that you've come across that were in people that you've helped? What kind of difficulties were they going through? Or one of them, because there's probably quite a few, right?
I know. I'm just trying to, because so many of them are still tied up in appeals now,
Okay.
and I'm not legally allowed to talk about them.
All right.
So I'm trying to think of
One that's been solved already.
yeah. Okay. Now I'll give you a very good one that comes to mind now. This is about someone who has, I think his wife back home in Kenya or something. Now he's been here for about 4 years or something. Now it took him that long for him to be able to get his status sorted. Now then, as soon as he got that sorted, he now invited his wife, and she got turned down. So he came to us and we're like, okay, let's see the reasons why she was turned down. And funny enough, because there are certain requirements you have to meet for you to be able to get this visa. And this poor woman met everything.
So what was the problem?
The reason was because, according to them, they've been apart for 4 years, and they felt being apart for 4 years doesn't mean, to them, it feels like the marriage is not subsisting.
Oh dear.
And the second reason, you wait for this, says they're not sure, or they're not convinced that they intend to live together as husband and wife. And I'm like,
that's awful.
how do you measure that?
Because you wait 4 years to see your spouse, missing them like crazy. You wait, probably here alone, and then you're told that you can't be together again. It's awful.
I was so furious when I saw that.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've seen married couples, who's lived together for that long, yet got divorced. Now, these people are apart for 4 years, and yet after 4 years they want to come back together. Surely, we should be encouraging them instead of putting impediments between them.
Yeah.
Look at the point. And again, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the law is concerned, that is not even part of the requirements that she has to meet. Okay? Because, one of the reasons why they arrived at that was because they said she only produced, I think, six photographs of them together, which meets one of the requirements, which says they have to have met. So, how many photographs do you have to show to convince someone that you met someone?
Oh, that's
You get the point? So these are some of the issues. Because it sounded crazy to me then. I was like, what's going on here? Because if you have requirements that someone has to meet and that one meets that requirement, I don't see why you should be bringing something that is completely outside the rules to now use that now to begin to refuse them. So we went to court and we won.
great. I can see you're really passionate about what you do because you get angry with us. That's really good.
Because I've lived it.
Yeah.
To get the point. So sometimes when my clients are talking to me about their situation, right, I can feel their pain.
Yeah.
To get the point. Most of the time I get this kind of deja vu moments. I'm like, okay, I can see myself in their situation as well.
That's probably why you're great at what you do, right? So as a final word as well, what would you say to maybe the residents here, like the British people or people that already live here, and they're a bit like dubious about immigrants that are coming over, or they maybe treat them disrespectfully? What would you say to them?
One, I'll say, wise up. Two, there is strength in numbers. I read a write-up a couple of days ago when this assumption that the population is going to balloon from 58 million to 70 million. I'm like, in my country, in Nigeria, we're 150 million. And we're doing great. Forget about whatever stories we had about that.
Yeah.
There is strength in numbers. So what's their problem? Look at the point. Don't forget, it's just like we said earlier on, most of these guys come here with a mission to work and earn money. And believe it or not, if they are working and paying into the coffers, obviously they're helping the economy. Okay? We have so many, natives, of British people who are, layabouts. They don't want to do nothing.
Okay, let me just set this point as well, that there are also many that work really hard before the phone lines get jammed. I didn't get the telephone number, actually.
There are two sides to a coin. You get the point. Just like, you know, everybody's now labeling every immigrant with the same brush. I mean, okay, look at me. I've just told you I'm an immigrant here in this country. Okay, I had so many, you know, side looks. You know, people look at me funny. But now that propelled me, right? Yeah, to do. You know, to reach for, you know, to make a new career for myself. And here I am now. So can you now look at me now and say, okay, it's a layabout? Do you get the point? So this is why I said at the beginning that they have to wise up. You see, we're in the 21st century now, for God's sake. Okay, we are no longer in the Stone Age where one particular set of people are subservient to the other. Not anymore.
Joseph, I think it's great what you're doing and the way you're helping people as well. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thanks for
Paolo, you've actually got your own business now, just to let the viewers know that you've got your own business, everything you're doing really well. You're still studying at the moment,
yes, I will
right?
finish the next January.
But all the best to all of you, and thanks so much for sharing your story. I wish I could talk more, but we've run out of time, unfortunately. But after the break, we'll be joined by Chris Brown for some self-development tips, and you're also going to see a really nice place to visit, so join us after this. Welcome back to the show. Now, before we speak to our very knowledgeable Chris Brown, let's go to this lovely place to visit that Barbara and I visited. This is definitely a place to visit. Look at the beautiful palace behind us. This was a former royal residence, and you're kind of expecting Aladdin to fly out on his magic carpet with his princess. Apparently, Barbara, the Royal Pavilion was built in 3 campaigns, and they started building it in 1787 as a seaside retreat for George, Prince of Wales. So it's like a holiday home. So we're only like an hour and 15 minutes away from London, and this is the sound that I love the most in the whole wide world, the sound of the crashing waves and like not a care in the world. So it's just lovely.
So relaxing, and it's just the best day to come down. It doesn't feel like England, doesn't it?
I keep saying that, don't we? We're so bad.
No.
England's nice.
England's nice.
As long as it feels like you're somewhere else.
We don't get out of London very often, so we're a bit like, we feel like we're in a different country, but really it's just the seaside, it's just wonderful.
We had a really lovely day there. So let's introduce Chris Brown. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you?
I am really good.
You're always really good, aren't
today.
you?
Oh yeah. Feeling it.
That's why I like having you on the show.
Oh, thank you.
You're happy.
It's a pleasure.
And plus you're brainy as well, so that helps. Oh. Happy brainy is a good combination.
Thank you. Well, Chrissy, one of the things that people always kind of wonder is what am I actually doing? Or they wonder about themselves, what are they doing, right? And the way things go. So today I'm actually going to be talking about how to manage yourself, as in time management. And we've had discussion before about time management. As I always say, it's a myth.
Yeah, so, Chris, according to Chris Brown, he says there's no such thing as time management, but he's going to explain why.
Right, exactly. There is no such thing as time management because you cannot manage time.
It's true. Yes, it's very true.
You can't, right? Because time is duration, a span of your life, and management is managing something, so you can't manage time. So what you've got to do is manage yourself and find a better way of doing it. Sometimes we get into that situation where we turn around and say, oh, if only there was more hours in the day. We always kind of wish that. And if you had more hours in the day, you'd just fill them in anyway.
It's true.
Wouldn't you? Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Once upon a time here, we'd say you had Sunday. All the shops were closed. Everything was closed. Nothing on Sunday. People actually rested on Sunday. What do? Fill the hours in. Go to work. Everybody's busy. So we go 24/7, round the clock. 24/7, right around the clock. So what we're going to do is find out how to actually manage ourselves. And this is based off, we'll say it's Filredo Pareto. It's 80-20 rule, which is called. Now this 80-20 rule is saying that 80% of the profit made is actually made by 20% of the actual work done. And that goes right across the board. In many areas, he actually looked in his garden and found he had peas with pods in them, and there was something like 80%. It was 20 of the pods, 20% of the pods that created 80% of the produce coming through. Looked at it in the country, it's the same thing as well. How much is owned and how much is actually put in. We ourselves got to realize in our business life, in our everyday life as well, what area do we actually push that 20% to get that 80 out, right? So I'm going to show you a little graph right here, which actually says on it about this 20% and this 80% and where we should actually channel ourselves. Now, in saying that, we've actually got areas in our life which are very urgent, as we see on here, and we got the not urgent. And down the left-hand side, you see we got the important and also the not important. Now, these are split up into 4 boxes, right? Now, we should have coming up here 4 boxes which will come up. Here we go. Now, that is called a quadrant. Now, I would like to say, I wish that I had thought this all out. This is done by Stephen Covey. Brilliant, brilliant, right? The late Stephen Covey, I'd say. Now, let me go back to that graph again. Right, now as you see in the first quadrant, quadrant 1, we've got here crisis. Then we have deadlines, and then we have meetings. So within that quadrant, that would fit under the urgent and the important. So we break it down and we say, well, this is something I've got to deal with right now. The urgent, these are the deadlines, this is the meetings that we've got to have together. These are urgent things that people have to do in business, right? Now, if we go into quadrant 2, next to that, here we have, it says not so urgent, but important. Okay, so you see on the top, we've got not so urgent, and on the left-hand side, we've got important. So they are actually important, but they're not as urgent. So we're talking about areas like planning, recreation, and we could add a few more to that. I just put a few examples because we could put this in our personal lives as well. This is more on the business side. Okay, so let's move down to the third one. And here we got emails, meetings, projects. And as you see, that fits into the urgent, but not important.
Really?
Yes.
I'm confused.
Right, when we get to the last one, you'll see why.
Okay.
Right, here we go. Right, last one, number 4. Spending time on the internet. Gossiping. And the last one there, sorting spam as well. We got hundreds of spam. Now, that's not so urgent and it's not as important. So let's just go through all of them as they're there. Now, we've got to work out that 20%. Now, some people spend a lot of time fulfilling their deadlines, getting into crisis. Now, if you spend a lot of time in that area in your life, in working out crisis, you're going to actually end up with a crisis yourself. Because you're constantly on the go, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done. Oh, there's a deadline, I've got to get this done, I've got this done. But it's not organised. Yes, now we understand, right?
I'm organised though, I am.
Yeah, it's being organised, but it's find out where they actually go. So if we go back to that on the left-hand side, if we can go back. Right, thank you. We've got the planning and the recreation. It's not as important. Now, think about this, it's very important in another way. If we spent more time in quadrant 2 and planned a lot, we wouldn't really be working in quadrant 1 on the crisis. So we'd be more in control of the other 3 in what we actually do. Now, the not important but urgent, yes, emails can be urgent, but think about this as well. Meetings are urgent, but we plan them as well, right? So we don't have to be in that place saying this needs to be done now, but it is something that needs to be done. Back to number 4, internet. Sometimes a lot of time is wasted in companies just sitting on the internet going through things. A lot of revenue is lost there. Gossiping, you know, not getting on to work, go down to the water machine, meet with the rest of the group, start talking, talk. Oh, I didn't realise I was meant to be back already. Then we go down to the last one as well, spam. I mean, my gosh, I've got one section on my computer just for spam alone. If I was to sit there going through each one, it would use up a lot of time, a lot of people's time. So we've got to work out where to put our 20% of energy in to actually get at 80% more productive with our time. And that is more of time management. That is actually managing yourself. If you can do that, you'll be in a much better place because you're more in control of what's going on. You'd be more in control to be able to say to someone, let me get this done first. You'd be more in control to say yes and no. Some people find it hard to say no. Somebody comes up and work says, oh, can you do this? Yeah, I'll do that. Oh, can you do this? Yeah, I'll do that. Before you know it, about a day or so after the next day, it's ended up in that crisis box again. Now, if you had...
You kind of feel, though, if you do say no to things, it's like you feel maybe I'm going to lose out on an opportunity, maybe I'm not going to get considered for promotion, say if it's a work situation. So it's quite a tricky one sometimes to say no.
That is true, but you've got to be thinking it in the more yeses in a polite way to say no. Because if you always thought of the threat about, well, I might lose a promotion, might do this. Let's put it this way. Something that Stephen Covey said, and I always remember this particularly, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Because they're going to get it done at the end of the day, not a person who's not doing it. But yet still, that busy person needs to be able to say, I can't do this now until I've done A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Yeah.
Right? And you're in line with that. So it's being able to show that, yes, you are credible, you can do that, but having the ability to say no. I could put it back a bit later on, a few days. So be in control of that quadrant.
Yeah.
Keep it going around.
So it's all like basically comes back down to the planning. So if you plan yourself well.
Yes.
What if you don't really know how to plan? What would you say?
Right.
What kind of help could you?
Go to New Change Development, Chris Brown, and I'll tell you all about it and we can have a conversation. No, if you don't know how to plan well, it's good to actually look something up like that and work out. But what you've got to do is work out what is important to you. What do you really want? What is important to you so you wouldn't reach in that point of a deadline? I'm sure now if somebody just thought, right, tonight, I'm going to plan this myself, how I'm going to carry my day. Let's forget about business. Let's talk about everyday things like household chores or whatnot. Oh, need to do the washing, need to do this, need to pay the bills, need to... If you don't pay that bill in time, you start getting those red letters. Fits into the crisis box straight away, okay? And you're still concentrating on number 4 that was on there. You know, the gossiping, the chatting on the phone, this, that, and the other, and more bills are coming in, your mobile's going up and everything like that. You're going to reach that point of crisis again. And you're going to be pretty tense. You're not going to be productive in any kind of way. So for somebody who finds it very hard to plan, I'd say work in that way.
Yeah.
Draw it
and
out.
be
Write it on a piece
disciplined
of
as
paper.
well, right?
Be disciplined, yeah. Self-discipline is the main thing. Break up your day. 20% of the day as well is going to make out 80% of what's productive after. So take that into your day as well. I usually start off early morning. I hit everything I need to hit. Then later on, if I've got the time, enjoy the rest of the day. It's more productive that way. Plus, you're not under stress.
Yeah. Really good advice, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Don't try to manage time, learn to manage yourself.
That's it. That's the key.
There you go. See, I always learn on these and I will remember by next week as well.
Brilliant.
All right, so we have reached the end of today's programme, but Friday's show will be looking at how to unlock your child's potential, and we'll be addressing the question of whether you can even teach babies certain things. Is it really possible? You're going to find out on Friday. Now, if you want more information about this show, you can visit chrissybshow.tv. We always have all the past programs up there as well, and we've also got them on YouTube. And if you want to get in touch, you want to ask a question, or you'd like to see us covering something on this show, maybe a topic that you're quite interested in and you want us talking about it here, you can also email me directly on chris@chrissybshow.tv. We're going to leave it here for now, so have a lovely evening and we'll see you again next time. Bye bye for now.